I understand that Kamala Harris is a tougher nut than Joe Biden. And I use the analogy intentionally, nut. Joe Biden was not ready. And I almost feel saddened for Joe Biden. I put this out on social media over the weekend that not only do they tell the guy he has to run again, and I believe they did, right? Not only do they tell the guy, hey, you want to run again because we really need you this time around, and whatever happens after the election happens after the election. We know you're old and infirm, but you got to run again because we got nobody else. I mean, after all, we got this awful human being as vice president who is more unlikable than Hillary Clinton, which is saying something. So you've got to run again, Joe, they say. I'm just backing this up to explain to you what happened this weekend and why it was so pathetic. So they initially, and I don't know that it took a lot of encouragement to convince him that he could win another election against Donald Trump, but they had nobody else. They had nobody else. Because if you dispatch of Joe, they know they've got Kamala. Kamala's damaged goods. Now, this is the thought process in February of this year, okay? That's not that long ago. In February of 2024, it was decided that they had to go with Joe. There's nobody else. We know that he's infirm. We know that he's incapable. But as long as he can get himself on a stage and wave and deliver a speech with any sort of modicum of rational thought, we'll survive it. After all, he beat Donald Trump once before, they said. So they trot him back out. They convince him, this is your time, Joe. Yeah, your legacy. You'll win. You'll be a 2-time president. Woo! And then they realize it's not going well. They understand how poorly it's going. And so they decide, they being the powers that be, and let's be real specific because I don't like the random they. I shy away from the random they. They are Barack Obama, to a lesser degree Nancy Pelosi, and Barack Obama's minion circle, including people like Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, and others. Ron Klein, I think, is in there too. And other decision makers of the Obama tree. They convinced Kamala Harris that this was bad. And while she publicly was proclaiming her dedication and loyalty to Joe Biden, secretly behind the scenes, she was scheming with people to deny almost 15 million voters their ability to cast a ballot for the nominee for president of the United States for the Democrat Party. And they decided that they needed to figure out whether or not they could depend on Joe Biden, which is why they convinced Joe Biden to challenge Trump to a debate early so that they could dispatch of him if he performed poorly. Then they didn't give him his cocktail. He had this cocktail during the State of the Union address. Whatever it was, I don't know. Maybe it was Red Bull. I don't know. I have no idea what they gave him. It could have been Red Bull, could have been drugs. For all I know, given the evidence in front of us, it could have been cocaine. Murphy, how dare you say that? You can't say that. You can't accuse the president of the United States of taking cocaine. It's not as if they found cocaine in the White House. Oh, wait.
You want to get high?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what they had him on, but they had him on something on the State of the Union address stage that they did not have him on the debate stage, which I believe was also on purpose. We can't continue to prop this dude up with drugs. We need to know whether or not he can perform on his own. And he couldn't. He fell on his face. And then they dispatched Obama and Nancy Pelosi and others to explain to him, Kamala Harris on the sidelines, ready to pounce. Joe, you can't continue. There's the 25th Amendment dangling out here, buddy, and we don't want to do this the hard way. We want to do this the easy way. You can be a conquering hero. And they threw him to the curb. To hell with the voters that voted for him. To hell with the idea that he was the only guy. They realized their better option was to go against the vice president that they hated in February. The vice president that the Washington Post and the New York Times was saying needed to step down for the good of the country in March of this year. Okay? Same woman. Same woman. and they dispatch of him, and they give him a moment in the sun early during the Democrat National Convention to give what was supposed to be, I assume, a rousing lion in winter type swan song speech, which fell on its face because, Joe Biden is Joe Biden. Joe Biden has never been good at this. Unless he's, stealing the words of other people or whatever. Which he did quite a bit during the early years of his senatorial tenure and during his previous presidential campaigns, 1998. You youngsters in the audience, look that up. Murphy's not making that. I make some things up. I'm not making that up. He left the 1988 presidential race because he was caught plagiarizing major portions of speeches. So they throw him to the curb and they give him a little moment in the sun. And then they say, just go to the beach, Joe, and serve out the rest of your time. In return for all of this, Joe, you get to serve out the rest of your time. You get to act in a dignified fashion. And, oh, by the way, come November 6th or whenever you choose to do it, you get to pardon your son, Hunter Biden. There's one reason and one reason alone that Hunter Biden pled guilty last week to the charges against him is because he has the knowledge that he's going to get pardoned after November. They can't do it before the election, but they damn sure will do it afterwards. And I don't feel confident about a lot. I mean, I was 100% sure that Notre Dame would put a whooping on Northern Illinois over the weekend. 100%. And I'm not 100% on this, but I'm 99.9% sure that Joe Biden is pardoning his son after the election. But I say all this to say, I almost felt bad for the guy because Kamala is doing so poorly. There are a couple of things that happened over the weekend, friends, that have me very excited about tomorrow and very excited about the future of this country. And one of them was the sight of Joe Biden on the campaign trail. Y'all see that? Joe Biden was out there in the Rust Belt states campaigning for his girl. Oh, yeah. Now, you tell me, just using the brain that God gave you, do you think that Joe Biden would be out on the campaign trail if Kamala was doing well? Just yes or no. Do you think if Kamala's doing as good as we were lied to regarding the polls as recently as 2 weeks ago, do you think if she's doing that well that they would want to attach her to the failures of the Biden administration?
I don't know.
That's a serious question, Joe. That's a serious question. Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
On that, we agree. Will you play that clip one more time? Does he not sound so good there? And he wasn't.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
I mean, he's speaking in a, that was 4 years ago. And this guy's gone downhill. There is 0% chance that Joe Biden's on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris if Kamala Harris is performing well in Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin. Now, I understand that we've got a ways to go in Wisconsin and maybe even in Michigan, such a union blue state, but she's getting her butt kicked in Pennsylvania. She's losing in North Carolina. She's losing in Arizona and losing in Georgia. And they know it. And she does not have any policy positions to repair what she has lost.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
Tomorrow night, Kamala, you have to continue to be the radical liberal that brought you to where you are and be a moderate. And I don't think you can weep. I don't think you can fit that camel's hair through the needle, ma'am. I don't think you can do it. So I'm as excited as can be about the events of tomorrow night. I'm excited about the next 60 or so days. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun together, and I hope you join us for every single moment of it.